Good morning everyone and welcome back to what is going to be the first vlog of the year, but I've tried to vlog twice already and I've just given up because I've not had anything interesting to do or say. But excitingly, I have my first ADHD medication prescription and I thought I'm gonna document my process of taking them. So here I am. It is the 31st of January. I'm going to do a week-long vlog of this is my first week on ADHD meds. Here we go. Woo! I am about to make myself breakfast because the type of medication that I'm on, which I will go into more detail about, it can suppress your appetite. So I'm going to make sure that I've had a breakfast before I take them to make sure that I've actually eaten. Something that I've really struggled with is cutting caffeine out, because I knew that I would be taking this medication and you're not meant to have like caffeine while you're taking it. I've been slowly cutting out caffeine because I love coffee. So I have a morning coffee every morning and I used to have 2, then I cut it down to 1, and then I've been slowly putting more decaf in the shot until a couple of days ago where it's just been completely decaf. So I've managed to cut caffeine out now that I'm taking my meds, but it has been rough. Like, I've been getting more headaches than usual. I suffer from migraines anyway, and I've noticed mood swings. Like, by the middle of the day, I'll be miserable because I don't have that stimulation. So I'm hoping that these meds can help me feel more alive the way that caffeine did. Here we go, I guess. Oh, they're so cute. They're so cute. So, I thought I'd talk about the medication that I'm on, why I went with that one, and also the goals that I have taking these meds. I'm taking Elvance, which is also called lisdexamfetamine, and also Vyvanse, I think it's pronounced. It's got a couple of different names. And I am starting on titration, which is essentially where you start on a lower dose, slowly make your way up to a bigger dose so that you can find the right dosage for you. So I have 14 20 milligrams and then 14 30 milligrams, and you start ADHD medication. After like 3 or 4 weeks, you have to go for a review, and then every year you have a yearly review. Some people have it every 6 months, I think. Basically because ADHD meds are stimulants, there's lots of different effects that it can have, and it's important that you're on the right one. So I'm starting on 20 milligram. I went with Elvance, one, because I felt like when I was researching ADHD medication, it was the one that most people said worked for them. And it was also the one that, at the time when I was getting my prescription, was more readily available than the others. In the UK, and globally actually, I think it's global, there's a ADHD medication shortage because of warehouse issues, production issues, and the production people not making sure that they have enough available when they knew they were coming into production problems, which has also meant that alternative medications have also gone into a shortage because people are using them as well. I always used to say that I didn't think I needed medication. I was diagnosed about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, and I always used to say, oh, I don't think I need it, I think I'm fine. But the longer that I've been aware of having ADHD, the more I'm aware of how it impacts me. It was the same with when I got my autism diagnosis, or when I realised that I was autistic. The more you become aware of your struggles, and the more I feel like it starts to impact you because you don't mask it as much. And I am now really struggling. Like I'm really struggling to get things done. I'm really struggling to feel motivated. I'm really struggling to not feel completely paralysed by my ADHD. So that is why I've decided to take medication, and that's the kind of thing that medication is meant to help with. They're stimulants, they're meant to stimulate you. My goal in taking this is to try and feel a little bit more human again. For the past 6 months, the past 8-9 months maybe, I have felt like I can't move. Like I have felt like my life has been jelly. Like when I'm trying to get things done, it has been so much harder than usual because I'm just so hyper aware of my struggles now. So I'm really hoping that this medication... Excuse me, Miss River. I'm trying to speak. Really hoping that this medication is going to help with that. I would like to think that I find things easier to do. I'm not expecting to straight away just feel like, oh my god, I'm able to do everything. So we'll see. This is why I'm going to document it. This is why I want to see how it makes me feel. So it's been about an hour and a half. The only thing I'll say is I feel like my eyes are really wide. Like I feel like when I'm looking around, I feel awake. Like I feel like I'm like this, and obviously I'm not, but my eyes feel like they're awake, if that makes sense, which is a new feeling for me. Because I feel like in general I just never feel awake. I'm currently watching Tracy Beaker. I've been watching Tracy Beaker right from the beginning because sometimes I just like a little bit of nostalgia. That is the only update, I think. I'm hungry, so that's good, but I guess maybe it's just not fully kicked in yet. I feel like I could have a headache coming on, so I'm going to make myself like a bottle of water that I'm going to drink throughout the day to try and stay hydrated, because an important thing to do when you're on ADHD meds is to drink, because they can make you feel like you've got a dry mouth and can dehydrate you. So I need to make sure that I'm drinking lots of water. I kind of want to get up and have a shower and get dressed and feel ready for the day, even though I'm not actually doing anything today, but I want to film some things. I want to get some filming done. That's one thing that I really struggle to do when I'm in the house and I've got nothing. I really struggle to film. I mainly film my content when I'm leaving the house because I need the sort of like the time. That is something I'm struggling with. Speaking. I was on the phone to my mum and I felt like I couldn't get my words out. Like I felt like my brain couldn't think of what I wanted to say. I can only film when I have time pressure, which I don't get when I'm in the house because there's no time restraints on anything. Whereas when I'm leaving the house, I'm leaving at like let's say 12. If I don't start filming before that, I'm not going to get any content made. Like I need that pressure. So there's that. Okay, it's now been 2 hours. And the only way that I can describe the way that I feel is that I feel present. Like, you know when you, I don't know if anybody like probably drink caffeine, but you know when you have like, wow, I look great. You know when you have like your first coffee in the morning, or you have some caffeine and it makes you feel like I am here right now, and you feel like a buzz? That's how I feel. Like I feel present. I feel like my eyes are open. I feel like when I'm speaking, I am actually speaking. Like that's the only way that I can describe the way that I feel. I'm not sure if I feel like, oh, I want to do things. I want to get things done. I've currently put some eggs on to boil. I think I'm going to have dippy eggs. Yeah, I feel like here and right now. I've also found a wardrobe at a local second-hand place that I really want to buy. Someone said, do you think ADHD meds help with impulsivity? Don't know. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I feel wired. Like I feel wired. Also slightly nauseous because I'm hungry, but I've just ate my food and like the taste of it in my mouth is making me feel a bit sick. I feel wired. Okay, so I've gotten ready. I'm just doing some filming and getting things done, and I've definitely noticed the fact that I feel wide awake. Like I feel wide awake. And I don't think that's something I've ever felt before, because I've always been somewhat tired, somewhat groggy, somewhat run down, or like there's been too much going on that overwhelms me and I just get tired. But I feel wide awake, like wide awake. I'm gonna be leaving the house. I have noticed that like I'm struggling to speak a little bit. Like I feel like usually words just come out, but now I feel like my brain is stopping me before I do that. which is interesting. I think the initial sort of buzz that I got from it is definitely died down, because I felt very much like, you know, that buzz that you get when you have a cup of coffee and you feel like, oh, I had that a little bit. That's not so much present anymore. Still thinking about that wardrobe though, because it's really nice. It's really ugly. If I put a picture on, I think most people would go, what the hell? But I love ugly things. My current feeling is, how is it only 2 o'clock? You know, when you get that feeling where like you've been awake for a really long time, you feel like you've done loads, you feel like it should be the end of the day, but it's actually only 2 o'clock now. So maybe my perception of time is changing. Like, I struggle with perceiving time as an ADHDer because my brain is just taking in so much stimulation, and I can get into like moments where I just feel like I'm in a slump and I don't even feel time moving. I can feel time moving. Just a little bit of Taylor Swift and Phoebe Bridgers for you there. Now I feel like I've done so much and it's only 2 o'clock. Like, I'm gonna leave the house and I'm doing more. What do you mean? Like, I can fit all of that in a day? Are you kidding? Usually my brain thinks that I can fit more in a day than what I can, but then time passes quicker than what I think, and I can't. So I'm back home. I've definitely noticed that usually my energy would have dipped a lot sooner than what it did, but I was very conscious to not push myself because I know that I still need to look after the fact that, like, I still have autistic needs as well. Like, I know that I could push myself to the point of burnout because I'm not recognizing that I'm tired. I literally only bought stuff for my cat, for River. Got on dual action flea treatment, not that she's got fleas, but they're preventative. Her yearly worming treatment, and this thing that goes on the door or hangs somewhere, and a new water bowl, because little miss keeps tipping hers over because it's too light. Don't ya? Yeah. So I'm gonna force myself to eat. It's not that I don't have an appetite, because I do feel hungry, and it doesn't feel like I don't have an appetite in the usual way that when I have migraines and stuff. It just feels like eating just doesn't sound fun. Like, eating just doesn't feel like it's something I want to do. I definitely have some kind of pressure in my head, but I'm quite prone to migraines and I get headaches a lot anyway, that I'm not sure it's completely linked yet. Good morning everyone, it is day 2 of taking ADHD medication. So, last night I didn't necessarily struggle to get to sleep because I was tired. I don't think I fell asleep quite as quick as I usually would. That might have had something to do with a little Miss River, who started running around and playing with plastic bags. I had some wild dreams though. Dreams about, like, I forgot to take my meds, so I was late. Dreams about, like, letting River escape. I did wake up in the middle of the night, so it is affecting my sleep a little bit, but also I feel like that could just be because I think it's going to affect my sleep. I don't know if there's some kind of weird placebo effect going on there. Today I actually am getting some tattoos, so that's going to be interesting because I really struggle with sitting still. Getting a tattoo. They're not hand pokes, I don't think. They're with a gun, so they shouldn't take as long and I won't be sitting there as long. But I get really fidgety. I don't like lying down. I like to be able to sit up because I get really understimulated. Like, the understimulation that I get getting a tattoo is like nothing else. It's horrible. I hate it. So this is going to be interesting because something I noticed yesterday when I was waiting for the metro, or I was waiting or walking along like behind people, I wasn't getting as agitated waiting, and I wasn't like forcing myself to go around people to walk faster. So I don't know if it's also impacting my ability to wait for things and not getting agitated by things taking longer. But also, it's been one day. I don't want to be like, oh, all of this is happening, when actually it was just a product of environment rather than my meds. Definitely have like a headache. And when I drink water, it helps. So I can 100% feel myself getting more dehydrated than usual. Which is a problem because I hate drinking water. I hate it. I really don't like it. I've always struggled to drink water. Fun fact, I was hospitalised twice as a child for dehydration, so I'm gonna need to be really on it about drinking and making sure that I'm not dehydrating myself. So I'm home. I'm not tired, but I can tell that my body is, if that makes sense. Like, I feel awake, but I can tell that I'm tired. I walked to my tattoo, which was half an hour there, half an hour back, and then I was there for 3 hours. And I definitely found that sitting there was a lot easier than usual. I'm very blue. Yeah, I definitely found that sitting there was a lot easier than usual, but towards the end I was definitely almost done. I'll show you it, but trigger warning, it is ever so slightly bloody and it's got second skin on, so it's sort of pooled a little bit, but I'll show you. So I got some pretzels, beans on toast. I'm basically starting like a special interest comfort leg of like things that... Oh, I have a friend. What's the matter, princess? Ah. I'm basically starting like a comfort, special interest, like safe things leg. So it'll not just be food, but I love pretzels and I love beans on toast and beans. Which, speaking of, I thought I'd show you one of my comfort meals that I make. It's basically, these are wraps with beans inside, specifically Branston beans because we eat no other type of beans in this house. Wraps with beans in, it's not for you, with beans in and cheese, wrapped up and then put in the air fryer for like 10 or 15 minutes. They're inspired by something that I used to get at break time when I was in school. And since having an air fryer, I make them at least twice a week, usually more, because I love them. They're delicious, they're crunchy but soft, full of beans and cheese, which you can never go wrong with, in my opinion. So I'm gonna sit here and eat these because I'm not gonna lie, I am really hungry, which is good. I definitely have an appetite, but I don't know if that's just because I haven't really eaten that much today and I was sat there for a long time. Just grab these. Wow! Good morning, everyone. This is the second morning in a row where the idea of having a coffee is just not appealing. Usually I wake up and I'm like, right, coffee, 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 coffee. I think now that my dependency on that's gone, because I've cut it out and I've been drinking decaf, and now I'm on meds, that caffeine dependency is just like non-existent. Oh, I've got a full sweep over fringe, wow. Throwback to 2012. Stars shining bright above me. Night breezes seem to whisper. Sycamore tree. Dream a little dreamer.
Hello Ella.
Hi.
Where we're going today?
I'm going to get a new fridge, hopefully, because my fridge isn't working properly, and then I'm going to get a haircut. So I'll take you along with us and that. I'll do. Good morning. So, it is day 4 of ADHD medication. An update on yesterday, because I didn't film that much. I managed to get a fridge. I ended up having a busier day than what I think I saw it as being. I went to a gig on the evening, which was really good, but I think I didn't anticipate the amount of socialising I would need to do, and I also felt I definitely didn't eat enough yesterday because I've definitely noticed it impacting my appetite, but not in the way that I thought it would. I feel hungry and I want to eat, but then when I've got food in my mouth it makes me feel really nauseous. Like the taste of it and the texture of it is just like not something that I was enjoying. So I found that the medication makes me feel awake, so I think it can disguise when I'm exhausted by being out of the house or doing things. So that's definitely something that I need to be aware of. Didn't want coffee yesterday, did wake up today, fancied a coffee, so I'm having a decaf one. I completely just conked out last night. When I got back in, I was like, right, I'm shattered, I'm going straight to sleep. But I have noticed that when I wake up, so I don't feel like I wake up and I'm like, oh, I need like 20 minutes to come around. When I wake up, I'm waking up. I've noticed that every evening at around 8 p.m. I'm getting a bit of a hot flush. Like my face will go quite warm. I've read in the booklet it's normal. So I've made myself a single cheesy bean wrap. Usually I have two when I have these, but I am struggling to eat. I don't like this. I hate having my appetite impacted because I become super aware of what I'm eating, when I'm eating, how I'm eating. So I overthink everything that I am eating, become really conscious of it. And I don't like doing that because I find it a little bit triggering. The thing that I'm grateful for is the need to drink, because I just don't stay hydrated the way that I should. Also, got my hair cut yesterday. I've still got pretty bad bedhead. I'm thinking I'm gonna bleach bath it, because with getting it cut, a lot of the brighter ends have been cut off. So it's quite dark, and I don't enjoy having dark hair. It reminds me of being a teenager and identifying as a woman. Now, for putting bleach on my hair, I absolutely should be wearing gloves, but I do just dunk my hands in and rub it on, because I feel like I managed to get everywhere that I need to with my hands. So I've got equal parts developer and bleach powder with double the amount of shampoo ish. Not gonna lie, I do also eyeball that. I've took my rings off, which is something I didn't do the first time I did this. Look down, my rings had turned black. So I had to put them in bicarb and hot water, panicked, didn't think it was gonna work. And the first time I took all my rings off, because I don't take my rings off, they stay on my hands permanently. I looked down at my hands and I got shocked, because I thought they were somebody else's hands. I was like, oh my god, who's in the room with me? Because I'm just so not used to seeing them without anything on. Okay, so bleach slash shampoo slash bleach bath is on. So it's gone like a corally colour. I really like it actually. I don't think I can leave it like this, because it's definitely going to be more patchy than like it all being one colour. But like in general, the colour that it's gone is actually really nice. So I've definitely noticed a lack of energy today, and I don't know if that's maybe just because I've been busy and naturally my body takes longer to recover from social things and doing things than other people, because I'm also autistic. So I don't know if it's I don't know if that's the reason, or if it's also the fact that I haven't been eating like normal, so I don't have the same amount of energy. So I actually work part-time in Newcastle. I work 16 hours at a local venue in town. It's mainly to get me out of the house, because as a freelancer and somebody that works from home, if I didn't have a contracted reason to leave the house, I don't think I'd leave. So I kept my part-time job, reduced my hours, so I do like 2 shifts a week to keep me mentally healthy. But this is going to be interesting, because it's actually mainly a desk job, selling tickets, doing emails and admin and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting as my first shift on medication, sitting down at my desk job. Hello, welcome to day 5 of ADHD medication. It is currently 1:15 in the afternoon. I've been sitting on the sofa since 9 AM. I feel awake. I feel like I want to do things, but everything feels like a demand today. Like there are things I want to get done, but everything feels like a demand. Like there are lots of things that I feel like, yeah, I fancy doing that. Yeah, I feel like that's something I want to do. Like I'd like to clear my shelves in there and redo them. There are things I want to like put on Vinted, but everything feels like a demand. Update on being at work. I definitely felt like time was moving slower, but not in a painful way. I've definitely felt that over the last couple of days, where I feel like time feels the way that it probably should feel, rather than like, oh, it's moving painfully slow, or I don't have enough time to do anything. I feel like I've got the right amount of time to do things, which is weird. Didn't struggle too much with sitting there, but it was a short shift, so we'll see what it's like when I do a long 8-hour one. Definitely noticed I'm talking slower. Definitely noticed that I'm struggling to think of words before I speak. Like, I don't feel like my brain can think of words quite as quickly. And I'm sitting with my water bottle, which is great. I'm managing to get through at least one of these a day, which is better than some days where I get into bed and take a sip of water before I go to sleep and realise that that is the first actual bit of hydration I've had all day. Something that you have to do regularly when you're on ADHD medication is take your blood pressure. One thing that I hate doing is having my blood pressure done. Like, I hate it. It feels horrible. It is like your arm is exploding. I hate it so much. Like, it feels like my arm is gonna pop, which obviously I know it's not. But usually pharmacies and GPs are happy to do it. Even though the last time I went to a pharmacy for it, they got kind of pissed off at me for it, even though that they had a sign on the wall that said free blood pressure checks. So I don't know. The nature of ADHD means that if I have to put more steps in place to get something done, I'm not going to do it. So if I have to go to a pharmacy or book a GP appointment to do my blood pressure, it's not going to get done, but you have to do it weekly. So I just got myself a blood pressure machine. It was £16 on Amazon. She's working. I hate doing this. Oh, I hate it. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I don't know what that means. It would help if I knew how to read this. Oh, it's even got an irregular heartbeat detector, so it'll tell me if something's wrong. And it's got a lovely little diagram that tells you what's normal, and mine seems to be in a pretty normal range. Hate that. Hate it. Oh, but this is good. This is good. Watch. Lovely. Now I'm going to Google normal blood pressure. Normal blood pressure. It has warning lights for if anything's wrong, and it's all on green, so I'm going to go with that. Good morning, everyone. Today I have a full 8-hour day at work, so this is going to be interesting to see how I feel sat down for that long in the same place doing the same thing, whether my focus is going to be better or worse. I don't know. I'm definitely struggling with my appetite. Just don't feel like I want to eat. I'm struggling with it because I don't like not eating. I hate feeling hungry. There's that. Last night went to a quiz, came second. There was only 3 of us on the team as well, and it's a pretty competitive quiz, so I'm very happy with where we placed. Good morning. I definitely noticed that I was able to sit for longer yesterday without being fidgety or without being like too aware of the time and wanting it to pass quicker. Being so annoying. Yes. New fridge, new fridge, new fridge. When I started documenting this, I asked on my Instagram if anybody had any questions that I would sit down and answer at the end of this video. So I'm just gonna sit and answer them here. Number 1 is, how was I diagnosed? Was it NHS or private, and what was the process? I went private for my ADHD diagnosis. I have a full video on my YouTube of what I did to get my diagnosis. And that means that I have privately got my meds as well. Most of the time when you go through a private clinic, your GP then has to enter into shared care, which is where they accept the private diagnosis that you have got and take on the responsibility of looking after you with that diagnosis, which means allowing you to have the prescribed medication that you get for ADHD. This can be really difficult because a lot of GPs just say no, they have the right to turn it down, they're under no obligation to go, yep, okay. So I have been getting my medication privately through the clinic that diagnosed me. They basically have a private prescription provider that I then pay and they deliver my medication. I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. It's not cheap, but I'm in a fortunate enough position to be able to pay for that while I wait for my GP to decide whether to enter into shared care or not. Then I will be able to get my meds on prescription. I have found that private providers of prescriptions are able to get their hands on ADHD medication easier than just like general pharmacies, because there is a shortage of meds at the moment. So luckily I haven't struggled to find my medication. Question 2 is, I heard ADHD meds can make some autism traits more difficult. I would love to hear about your experience. One of the things that I was told when I decided to go on Elvance was just be aware that it can make your sensory issues worse. It's well documented by autistic people who are on ADHD medication that their sensory issues can become worse. This was something that I was warned about, and I have definitely found that on some days things did feel a little bit heightened. Some sounds felt louder, some lights felt brighter, and I do feel like maybe it meant I was a little bit closer to being overstimulated a lot of the time when I've been on these meds. It hasn't been really bad, but I definitely think that the fact that these can make you focus more has meant that I am now noticing more sounds and stuff around me, whereas for a lot of people it can have the opposite effect. It means that you're not paying attention to those things, whereas I found that because it's sort of tidied up my other thoughts, it's allowed room for my sensory issues to latch on to what's going on, you know? Next question, I am wondering how it affects anxiety and OCD. Now, I am quite an anxious person. I don't want to speak too much about OCD because I'm not diagnosed and I don't think I know much about it, but I do feel like it's something I am currently looking into because, yeah, my brain, it's definitely not just ADHD and autism that's going on up here. There are lots of other things as well. The first few days, I don't think it made me too anxious, but the past couple of days, so like day 5, 6 and 7, I've definitely noticed that I've been a lot quicker to have anxious thoughts, a lot quicker to give into the intrusive thoughts that I get. And my brain has just ran away with them, and I don't know if that has been because of medication. I think it's too early to say. I think I can understand why it can make people feel anxious though, because I've definitely noticed that my heart rate's a little bit faster. I did notice that something that I struggle with when I'm a passenger in a car is getting anxious about collisions or things going wrong, and that feeling that you get where you're like, oh gosh, I've noticed that that doesn't go away as quick. That pit feeling that you get in your stomach has lingered a little bit longer. Again, I think it's too soon to say whether it's got anything to do with ADHD meds. Next question, I have emetophobia and I struggle with taking meds. Does Elvance make you nauseous? Yes, not all of the time. It's definitely been something that has been passing. I noticed it with strong flavors, so I've been trying to stay hydrated, but I don't really like just water. If I'm like out somewhere, I'll get a lime and soda, but I've realized that when I was drinking that, the flavor of it was too strong and it was making me gag. One of my safe foods, pasta. I love pasta. I got some pasta from a local shop, but halfway through I just got this wave of feeling nauseous, and the flavor was just too much. Like, it was too intense. And I've noticed it with textures as well, but this seems to come in waves. Like there's been a few times where I've been really hungry and I've ate a lot and it's not been a problem, and then there's been other times where I feel like the idea of eating is just gross and horrible. Next question, did you feel like it takes away from your personality at all, or creativity? I don't think so. Quite a few people have asked me this because it seems to be a common experience that people feel like they lose their creative spark, like their brain is so quiet and organized that they don't have this like out of the box thinking. I don't think so. I have done a lot of illustration this week. I've done a lot of sort of making content, and I don't feel like it has done. I've been told that it's affected how fast I speak, and I feel like talking fast and being like, oh, definitely affects the way that your personality comes across. But I don't think that I've noticed any mood changes or like dullness in personality, or that that's been affected. Did I sleep better? I don't really think my sleep has been impacted that much. The first day that I took them, I did think that I did struggle to get to sleep, but I have a feeling that was just because I was conscious of trying to go to sleep, because I knew that it can impact your sleep. I've definitely noticed that when I wake up on the morning, I'm awake. Like there's no grogginess. It's not, oh, I'm awake and I'm gonna go back to sleep. When I wake up, I wake up. Which usually I do anyway, but I lie there for a while and I feel sort of still sleepy. That's not how I've been feeling. I've been having more vivid dreams, which I didn't really want to pin to meds, but I've had a few comments of people saying, oh, it made my dreams really vivid. Yep, I've definitely been having more intense dreams than usual. Maybe I'm sleeping deeper, I don't know. But in terms of when I'm tired, when I wake up, my sleep pattern is exactly the same. And are the side effects worth the benefits meds give you? Personally, 7 days in, yes. There are the things that I feel like I've been impacted by are completely manageable. If I have breakfast on a morning, I'm eating something, I feel like I'm still able to eat. It definitely has impacted how much I've ate over the last week, but I don't feel like it's to the point where I can't eat anything. It's definitely impacted my speech, not even just like pace wise, but I feel like my brain can't think fast enough for what I want to say. So sometimes I've been stumbling over my words. I've noticed that when I've been filming videos, but that just means that things take a little bit longer when I'm speaking. The sugar cravings, I definitely used sugar as a dopamine hit, and I've noticed since taking meds that I haven't had intense sugar cravings anymore. Usually after I have something to eat that's something savoury, I have to have something sweet afterwards. It's like a little treat. I've not been feeling that way. Same with coffee, not been having coffee cravings, but those are the kind of things where that is what it is. I did notice that I felt like my demand avoidance was a little bit more intense. Whilst I feel like it's definitely helped me to do things and get things done, there have been days where when I've been more tired, my demand avoidance has felt very, very intense. A couple of days ago, I just felt like I couldn't move off the sofa. The idea of doing anything was awful, but I don't know if it just feels more intense because I know I'm on meds and therefore I should be doing more. So the fact that I didn't want to felt worse. And the three biggest benefits that I've had: one, I feel awake. I feel awake. Like, I have never felt so awake in my life. Two, the ability to just do things. I think the dull of chatter in my mind means that when I think, oh, I should do this, I'm just doing it. An example would be if I'm sat on the sofa and I've just had something to eat and the plates are there and I'm getting up to go to the kitchen to get something else. Sometimes, well, a lot of the time, I'll just be like, oh, I'll leave it. I can't bother to carry it right now. When I'm getting up, I'm going, oh, I should take that in, and I'm literally just picking it up and taking it. The things that I used to have barriers for, like, oh, I can't be bothered to do that, I'm finding a lot easier. It's not necessarily big tasks. I still think that I struggle to do a lot of things, but I do feel like small things like that have been impacted where I am just deciding to do it and not think too much about it. Three, I've definitely noticed that the way that time passes feels different. I'm very aware of the time, what time of day it is, because I feel like I'm always thinking about my routine, what I can get done. But I always feel like time either passes way too quick and I can't get everything I want to get done, or it's so slow and I'm so bored and it feels painful. The first day that I took meds, I did so much in the morning. I looked at the clock expecting it to be like 5 p.m. and it was 2 o'clock. And I still had so much that I was going to get done that day, and I managed to do it. It feels like time is passing at the correct pace. I noticed that when I was at work, when I was sat at my desk, I didn't feel like I was watching the clock as much and watching it pass really quick or slow. I felt like I was just sitting at my desk. I sat there for my shift length and that was it. So that's good. So overall, I feel like I've had a pretty positive experience. I've got another week on 20 milligrams of Elvance, and then the week after that I'll be going up to 30 milligrams for 2 weeks. Within that time period, I'll be having a review to see where I'm at, and I'm going to carry on documenting. So make sure that next week you watch my week 2 of ADHD med. Please leave any questions that you have in the comment section. I might not get around to replying. I'm really bad at replying to YouTube comments, but if I see them, I'll try and answer them in next week's video. I hope that this has been beneficial. I hope that this has helped you made a decision about getting ADHD meds. I hope that this has helped you with understanding the way that you feel on your meds. And yeah, I will see you in next week's video.